This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. 204-780-6868. Jets at Noon. That's the number to shoot us a text. Jim Toth, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Happy Tuesday. Taking Tuesdays back, the forgotten day of the week. And we got a big one. This is going to be a big Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Tuesday isn't boring anymore.
No, not anymore. Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. A VIP take on the text line. Win a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program as we're coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio for gourmet pizza and pasta. Bring the team to Boston Pizza. Very happy to welcome Executive Director of the NHLPA, Marty Walsh, on to the program. Hey, Marty, how are you?
Good. It's great to be on with you guys today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Marty. We appreciate it. Are you tired after all those labor negotiations?
No, it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was a couple weeks ago, so I got a little time to get my head back on. I'm good. I'm ready for the next. The next move here.
Yeah, so this kind of came together well before the deadline. I even did a little bit of a calculation. 435 days from when it was ratified earlier this month to when it would have expired. And Marty, I mean, you've been the mayor of Boston, former U.S. Secretary of Labor. When it comes to these kinds of agreements, 435 days is an absolute eternity. How would you describe the current relationship between the NHL and the NHLPA, and how did that influence the outcome of these talks?
I mean, I think we have a good, strong relationship. Obviously, we have a common goal in growing the game of hockey. Obviously, that was important. We want to work closely with business opportunities, and I think when you have a relationship with the league or they have a relationship with us, we can better represent our players that way. If an issue comes up, we can obviously talk to the league. Doesn't mean we're always going to get what we want, or they're not going to always get what they want. But having that dialogue is really important, and kind of set the tone when I first took the job. I met with Gary Bettman early on in my tenure here, and he knew who I was a little bit through my past life, and certainly I knew who he was as well. So I just said to him, if we have a disagreement, let's just talk about it here and not publicly, and let's get to yes if we can. So that's basically how it started.
And I don't want to say any labor negotiation or a collective bargaining agreement is easy, Marty, but this is a different time for the National Hockey League, and it seems like both the players and the league are doing well. What was this less difficult than other labor issues can be?
Well, it wasn't difficult in the sense of that a looming strike or work stoppage was out there. There's moments in the negotiation when you leave an office and you think, God, that didn't go anywhere. And then the next day you go in and all of a sudden we're moving. The normal ups and downs in negotiations happened here. But it wasn't, there wasn't ever a time that I was sitting there thinking, okay, we're going to stop negotiating. We're going to wait till September of 26 and start negotiating again. That never happened in this case.
How do these things start? Like, did you call them and they call you, and do you both sort of make proposal and say this is exactly what we want, and then they put something in front of you that says this is exactly what we want, and then you guys just go over the details? Is that kind of how things go? Yeah.
What happened was when I met Gary the second time I met him as the director here, we started talking about. He mentioned to me if whenever we're ready, he'd be interested in doing an extension to the contract. And I said I just started. Let me give you some time. So we took the next year and a half to talk to the players during fall tour, and every time we had a chance to meet the players, my job at first was to get to know the players first and foremost. We would write down different things they might say about something that they have a concern about, whether it's health benefits or the contract situation or whatever it might be. So we wrote all this stuff down. Some players said, I don't like the dress code, and we wrote that down, and different things like that. And then as we got towards the end of last year, we got a little more serious, myself and Gary and Bill Daly and Ron Hainsey, about having potential opportunity to get a contract done. We wanted to get through the end of fall tour, which was December of last year. And then we had Four Nations, obviously. So we started to talk then about having a negotiation. At that point, we had a list. They had a list. They had been adding to the list. We've been adding to our list. And then March 31st was the first actual time we actually sat down at a table across from each other. We put together a negotiating committee on the player side. Gary had a negotiating committee on the owner side. Obviously you run through the different recommendations that people are talking about, understanding that we're not going to get everything that we want, and they're not going to get everything they want. But we started on March 31st, really going through the list, and we kind of broke it into buckets, different areas, different categories, revenue, healthcare, pension, contracts, things like that. And as we started to have these conversations, at the table, it was Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, their attorney. At our side, it was myself, Ron Hainsey, and John Zabel, our attorney. Dave Zimmerman's their attorney. And we just started talking about different areas, and we would give buckets of issues to our teams to work together on and see if they can come to an agreement. And you just do that over time. Obviously, we had the playoffs come up. That slowed us down a bit because we didn't meet as consistently. And then right around the Stanley Cup final, there was kind of a hope that we'd be able to announce something during the Stanley Cup final, but we weren't ready for it, so there was no rush. So during the Stanley Cup final, we actually were able to be in the same place in Edmonton and in Florida, so we were able to have a lot of conversations there.
Marty, I know your concern is all the players and all the teams, but here in Winnipeg, the no trade list really hits fans hard and is a thorn in their side. Did the no trade and no movement clauses remain? I know they are governed by the existing rules, but was that something that came up during negotiations from the players' side or the league and GMs on if there's too many of them, how they're governed? Did no trade lists at all discussed in the CBA, really. Or is everybody happy?
It really didn't. It really didn't come up that much, and I don't know if it's happy. I just think it's hard to. When it comes time to contracts, like I'm not going to give up a lot of ability. So I understand what people in Winnipeg are saying. I understand that. So when I say that, but I have 750 players that I represent. So I want to make sure that when they're negotiating a contract, they have the ability to negotiate the way they see fit. I think that, obviously on the other side of that coin, I've worked with Mark Chipman in the past. And we want to make sure that every team has the ability to win the Stanley Cup, and every team is successful. So that's something that's important to me. I want to make sure all teams are successful and strong in their markets, whether they finish in first place or 32nd place. We want to make sure they have the ability to be strong, and players do too.
Mm-hmm. Does the NHLPA believe that teams located in no income tax states like Texas and Florida, and again, talking about thorns inside, this is another one. Does the NHLPA believe that they do not have a competitive advantage in attracting free agents compared to teams in higher tax jurisdictions?
Yeah, I don't think. I think that story is being blown up a little too much. When you look at the history, if you look at the history of the league back, 10, 15 years ago, it was Boston, it was Pittsburgh, it was, teams, Chicago, places that had higher tax rates than, Florida Zero, obviously Florida Zero and Dallas, places like that. But they went on a run. Players stayed there, players signed there. I think it might have more to do with quality of life, might have more to do with the team atmosphere on the team, people wanting to stay, keep the team together. I think it's being way overblown there. When you think about other sports have the same problem. Now, somebody said to me one day, I was talking about it, and somebody said, well, Canada's 7 teams. Yeah, okay, but the Blue Jays and the Raptors, they're dealing with the same thing that NHL is dealing with. Or the Knicks and the Celtics and the LA Lakers are dealing with the same thing that, the Magic, the Heat, the Mavericks are dealing with. So I think it's overblown. I think, obviously when you sign there, you look and say, oh, wow, it's great, no income tax. But your property tax is higher. Listen, states they're going to make their money up. So if they don't have an income tax, it doesn't mean you're living there for free. You're just going to pay in other ways.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective as well. The 84-game regular season schedule reducing the preseason, I don't know a player that wouldn't be happy with that. Was that a big point from the players' side?
That was the league wanted that, and then obviously we wanted to try and cut down on the wear and tear and the mental aspect of the game on the players. So when we agreed to the 84 games, we were able to cut training camp down to 13 days. We able the exhibition games down to 4, capped at 2 with any player that's played over 100 NHL games. We eliminated the fitness testing and also the dress code. So we're able to do things there. And, our goal there was to make sure that we weren't adding games to the players and adding more stress to their bodies and things like that. So this was actually works itself out.
Are the players interested in getting the playoffs done earlier, or are they okay with things ending mid-June?
No, I mean, it depends. I mean, if you're the two teams that make it to the final, you'd like to say, well, I'd like to end it earlier because there's summer short, right? That what I didn't realize until I took this job was that these players, we think of hockey as a sport. These players, it's a career. And when their season's over, they might take a week or two with their families, and most of them are back on the ice. They're skating all summer long. They're working in groups. They're working with different people to improve their skills. So these guys are really working, just like a regular person working a job. They're out there doing the same thing every day. So I think if we could somehow figure it out, it's complicated though. It's hard to move the schedule up or get the season done earlier because you have a lot of games that are being played. One thing we did do here is try and get a few more games in October, so that it frees up a little time at the end of the season. If you remember, well, you watch hockey, beginning of the season, it seems like your team's playing once a week. And then at the end of the season, it seems like your team's playing every other night. We've got to try and balance that schedule a little better for the players.
Marty, might be the most important question, but I was in the room when Ron Hainsey played here daily, and he wouldn't stop talking about the New York Yankees. You're from Boston. How do you guys even work together?
Well, I had a nice chat with Ron yesterday. I talked to him, and I said, "We watched the Sox game this weekend," and I said, we had a 1-0, a 5-4 walk off, a 1-0 complete pitch game, and then we won the series finale with 10 in a row. He just kind of brushed me off, like, yeah, and we won something else. So we'll see what happens. This is after the All-Star break. We'll see if I can still be bragging a little bit here because I think the Yankees are just on cruise control for the moment.
And how integral was he on the dress code? I remember him being adamant that suits were maybe not the best attire when you're traveling.
He was integral in the whole contract. I mean, he has great insight to the game. I mean, I think we make a great team, and having a player that's respected by everyone that played with him or played against him, and then the young guys getting to know who he is. I mean, the hockey insight he has is amazing, and he's just a great partner to have in this. And I think that having the two of us work together, I think it's really important. I trust him completely. He trusts me completely. If he's in a meeting, I don't need to be there. If I'm in a meeting, he doesn't need to be there. But he just has great insight in the contract. He knows it inside and out. I think he did 3 as a player, and now this one. So he understands the aspects, the elements, what a change in something might mean for a player, and he understands that, and that's really important for our players.
So the Four Nations face-off was clearly a massive hit across the entire world. I know that the Olympics, and I'm sure the NHLPA is excited about 2026. Are we going to see more of this? Is there some other ideas that are being batted around about how we can get best on best play more continuous?
Working on 2028 right now, World Cup of Hockey. We're still working towards the format, what that will be, but we're going to have a World Cup of Hockey. We're asking cities around the world to look at it and bid on it. We have European bids, we have North American bids, so it's going to be exciting. And then 2032 we'll have the Olympics. 2030 we'll have the Olympics again. Then plan is 2032 to have World Cup. So every 2 years we'll have best on best, which is great for the players and great for the fans and great for the game of hockey. I mean, the Four Nations tournament couldn't have turned out any better. I mean, just the average person. I was walking through Montreal, and the buzz in Montreal when the games were up there was incredible in the restaurants and on the street. And then obviously in Boston, the buzz was incredible as well. So it was great. It was great for the sport of hockey. I mean, I think other teams, you heard a lot of talk about basketball trying to do something as well. It's just hockey is unique. We can do this. We have so many international players that we can do things that maybe basketball can do some of it now, but other sports can't. Not to the way we do it.
Marty Walsh, Executive Director of the NHLPA. Marty, I really appreciate the time and the insightful answers. And thanks so much. Hopefully we can do this again.
No, I look forward to it. And if you guys call anytime.
Thanks, absolutely. Marty. We really appreciate it. Have a great summer.
All right, you too. Thanks, guys.
204-780-6868, 204-780-6868. Shoot us a text. We want to continue to go over our conversation as the show goes on, and we'll unpack more of the conversation with Marty Walsh, which I thought he was fantastic. And let's go over some of the answers and some more thoughts when we come back. Jets at Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP take on the text line wins a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. We'll announce the winner later in the program as we're coming at you live from the Boston Pizza Studio for gourmet pizza and pasta. Bring the team to Boston Pizza. While you're at it, download the Jets at Noon podcast free now on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts, with plenty of memorable Jets talk and episodes and special content exclusively found there. So you can take Jets at Noon wherever you go, whenever you want. You can also find full episodes on YouTube. You can also find us on TikTok, X, all that stuff that Jim does not understand, Instagram, all that stuff. If Jim doesn't get it, we're on it.
That's right.
Just leave it.
The TV down.
Just leave it to me, Jim. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, but you're like the Doogie Howser of social media. You're
God.
so young, in your early 30s, and you understand all of it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
I'm like my dad. I don't like to change the channel too much. I think the remote will break.
You know, like in the Matrix, when all those numbers are just falling, those green numbers. That's what it's like.
Yeah. Or like Alan and the Wolf Pack in Vegas in the first Hangover when the numbers were going by and he was playing blackjack.
Yeah, like something like that.
Mommy, make me an Oreo Blizzard now, please. An Oreo smoothie. That's like...
204-780-6868. We're getting some response from our conversation with Executive Director of the NHLPA, Marty Walsh, who was excellent. If you missed that conversation, go and download the podcast and make sure you listen to that, because believe me, we will be referencing that conversation that we just had with him. If you missed it, go back and listen to it. Go on the podcast, find us, because we're going to be referencing that conversation all year long, and maybe even longer than that, I promise you. What were your initial thoughts on our chat with Marty?
Well, I thought he was great. The two things that stood out to me is, like, he represents players.
Yeah.
So this isn't like a conversation with the league. I mean, the league represents the league, but they also care about the players and want to, but he represents the players. So that stands out, that you get that unique perspective from him. And then the other thing is what he said, I think stands out, is we think of it as a sport. They think of it as a career. It's work, right?
Yeah.
Now, it's the greatest job in the world if you're a hockey player and you love hockey. Clearly, we understand that. But it's his job. So when it comes to the no trades and it not being a big bone of contention, because we're in the Winnipeg bubble, right?
Yeah.
And 750 some players, and 720 of them don't think about it too much. And even the ones here don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Unless your contract comes up. And it's not about Winnipeg. It's about controlling your career, which I don't care what you do out there listening for an occupation. The more you can control and have a say in what you do, that's what it's about. It's not a Winnipeg thing per se. It's just like his job, as he said, is to allow his people he works for the best opportunity to control their careers. Yeah,
and he said that he worked with Mark Chipman on this too as well, and that kind of resonated with me too as well, Jim. When he said, and it kind of got me thinking that things are not going to change. Well, you can't sit here and say that it's never going to change, because it can. Things can always change. Things can be different. But I don't think that there is I don't think there is much appetite right now between the league and the NHLPA to change no movements and no trades. And when he went and said, why would I put on the table and make it more difficult for my players to be able to negotiate the contracts that they want.
Or control their careers.
And then when he put it that way, I'm like, well, yeah, why would you ever do that? So, I mean, it just seems like this is just something that we always knew that things were going to be tougher here in Winnipeg, and it's just the way that it's going to be.
And this is from Toby on the text line at 780-6868, and we'd love to get your response to the Marty Walsh conversation. But he says a great take here. Best take from Walsh is about state tax. Absolute, he's correct. Players in those states will obviously pay a different way. Government will find a way to get their revenue, always and always have since the start of time. Toby in Portage la Prairie. And I've always said this, right? Like, what's lost in this is you are taxed on where you're playing that game. So if you're in Florida or Vegas or Texas, that 41 games a year, you're not taxed on that. But if you live there, there's other, like Florida just doesn't get by. The state of Florida just doesn't get by on nothing coming in, right?
Yeah.
But the other part of that is, so you, like, once a year, Florida Panthers players are taxed Canadian and Manitoba tax.
Yeah.
And then once a year, Toronto, or twice a year, however, 3 times a year, however they play in their division and things like that. I've always said it's a factor, but it's not a major factor. And all the factors, it's 7 down the list, because there's only, of 750 some players, there's 5 tax-free states?
Yeah. The ones that have NHL teams, and Washington State it's a little different. I think they're technically have no income tax, but I'm not obviously a tax lawyer,
but
there's
talking
differences.
About 1/8 or 1/7 of the league.
Tennessee, Nevada, Florida, Texas, and then I think there's 5 teams. Yeah, and if there's any that I missed, there text the show.
So when the Jets go to Florida, that's a tax-free game for them.
Yeah,
and Tampa.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. It's that. So I don't it's not as massive as we think.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll point to the contracts in Florida, tax free or not. You're paying Sam Bennett $8 million. You're paying Marchand $6 million till age 43.
Well,
I think they wanted to stay in Florida because they're on a winner and it's Florida. Well, I don't think they sat there and go, I'm not going to Toronto for $8 million a year, Marchand, because of the taxes. I'm staying, and I'm just guessing. But when I look down the list, Sam Bennett and Brad Marchand, who are UFAs, they want to stay in Florida because they just won a Stanley Cup and 2 Stanley Cups for Bennett. It's beautiful there. And I think tax-free comes in after that.
Well, how big of a discount did Aaron Ekblad sign for?
Well,
massive.
Exactly.
And
Nikita Kucherov. Nikita Kucherov's making $9.5. And I believe I read something the year he signed that, he could have gone to other teams and made 12, but it wasn't about taxes. The teams that could afford that, or 11, were like Arizona at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you leave Tampa Bay after winning cups to go to Arizona or teams that have the cap space?
Yeah.
Rantanen was offered 13 plus some to go to Toronto, which would have been equal tax-free in Dallas, and he still chose Dallas because it's Dallas.
Yeah, Texas has the 7th highest property taxes in the United States. So they have pretty significantly high property taxes. So they do find their way. So that was a point well taken.
Catherine from Oakbank says that to love the comment, sport to us versus career to them.
Yeah.
It's work. That's why they don't take a month off in the summer. They take 2 weeks off and then they get back at it. I gotta quote unquote get to work.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Dick texts the show and says, I guess the players no longer require a pit bull like Donald Fear anymore. I think things are a lot different than when Donald Fear was the executive director of the NHLPA.
When both sides are making money, it's much easier. And I'm not saying it's 400 and some days, and Marty laid out like it wasn't easy.
No.
Even when everybody's happy, it's still not easy.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring up that it was 435 days before the thing came to an end. And that's why I said to Marty, I said, listen, you've been the mayor of Boston. You've been the U.S. Secretary of Labor in the past. That amount of time for an extension to be signed on a CBA is an absolute eternity. So yeah, there was some contentious issues. Not everything was agreed upon, and they had to negotiate. But you can't tell me that there's 435 days between the expiration of that contract and things aren't going well for both sides. I mean, there was a come together here. There was no want or need to even get it anywhere close to any sort of work stoppage or any sort of late season. There was no appetite for that whatsoever.
And either side, with that much over a year left, could have gone, we might get more leverage if we wait 6 months.
Exactly.
And say, what's the rush?
Exactly.
And then when there's 6 months to go, I go, hey, we got to get this done, and this is what we want. And
so this is where the NHL is right now. They're in a good spot.
And I think there's enough veterans left, like the Ovechkin lost a year, and the Taves, let's be honest, Taves won a Stanley Cup in a 56-game season, that are around that would have to. Ron Hainsey was around, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember sitting at home till January or December, he probably saying and stuff. So it's just, I don't ever want to say something like that is easy, but when both sides are happy and the escrow is going away because of but let's not forget, Cam, it wasn't long ago where this whole league was in trouble because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
We remember the playoffs with nobody in the stands and how much money that costs a team like Winnipeg. So it's good to see the health of that. Another great text came in. It's Jamie from Flin Flon. One thing I like about Marty Walsh is he comes across as a genuine good guy. Sure, he's out to get his players money and a better standard of living and so on, but comparing him to Don Fear, Bob Goodenow, he seems like a polar opposite, not about being confrontational or fighting or just being a good, humble guy willing to work with everyone. I will say this.
I think if you get him in a position and his players want him to go to bat for them and fight,
the quote unquote Boston comes
well,
out.
Yeah, he was a former mayor of Boston, man. Like, listen, believe me, there's a bulldog in there. There's no doubt about it.
But I will say this. I've been around long enough where having no frontline insight to the front office of the league, but there was some arrogance there.
Yeah.
This is a league that, quite honestly, throughout time, back to the Gordie Howe days when he'd be happy he renegotiated for $1,000 and somebody would elbow him in the Red Wings room and go, that third liner is making more than you.
Mm-hmm.
And that had Ted Lindsay went and started the union as it goes and stuff. But there was a time even when the arrogance of the owners in the league was like, we'll tell you, it's our league. And there seems to be some more even, and even from Bettman, right? Like, I think Bettman's gotten older and seen the lockouts and the work stoppages and that we're all making money and stuff. But I will say this. Mark Chipman has a major role in this. Mark Chipman is the new owner that some fans think he might be too involved. I don't know if he is, or I don't know his level of involvement. But that new, not like the old Bruins owner who would say, there's the door, you're a player, I'll tell you how this runs. Mm-hmm. Where I think Mark is more of a person that would sit in a room, likes the players, respects the players enough, but still understands it's a business so that it's not as heated as it has been in the past when the Shanahans were a player and would go into a boardroom and not be given respect sometimes is what I've heard over the years, right? So I think there's more, progression going towards that. It's more of a partnership than ever, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think Mark Chipman is one of the, and I don't want to attach this label to him, but like if you would rank the sort of the figureheads in the National Hockey League, the power brokers, the guys that have a lot of pull. I think Mark Chipman is up there. He's up there.
He's the future, right? Like I hate the future is what it is for how old Mark's. How do they think Mark is?
Well, I just saw him. He had a nice haircut for that Jonathan Taves. It was a very youthful haircut that he had for Jonathan Taves.
I'm 53. He looks like he's 55.
Yeah, he looks great.
He's 65 years old.
Oh, it's just getting, it's like you finally get CPP.
And he might be going, why are you giving my age? I want you off the air. But I think that like he has been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
He never was arrogant. He never, but I know.
Look how he brought the team in, Jim. I mean, it was all grassroots.
I know Mark will put his foot down, or I've been told when it needs to be put down. But it's not his nature every day. It's about building things. It's about partnerships. It's about working together. And at 65 years old, it's the young, like, let's be honest, it's one of the younger people. Right now we got Utah, who's young ownership, and we got other. But back in the day of the Illiches in Detroit and the Bostons and the, everything, like, I think they needed a new thing to come in where you could bridge the gap of this doesn't always have to be us versus them.
John says, bull bleep Marty. That was from John. I think that had probably something to do with the tax-free states. I'm not sure, but I wanted to make sure that I got John's message in there.
I mean, you're talking about just over 100 players.
Yeah.
Of 750 some.
The way Marty put it, I mean, I have to give it to him on that one. Tommy says, hi guys, do you know what exactly the new dress code is? Business casual. We really don't need to see any of the exorbitant outfits like in the NBA, NFL. Tommy, I agree with you. And I found the actual rewording of the document here. So this is the new CBA section. It provides clubs are not permitted to propose any new rules concerning player dress code, but players are required to dress in a manner that is consistent with contemporary fashion norms. So figure that one out. That is lawyer speak beyond lawyer speak. I'm not sure what that can possibly be. But
I think 80% of the league is still going to put a suit on, and it's just going to be a turtleneck or a golf shirt or a shirt and tie. Like, to me, Adam Lowry will wear the turtleneck to the city they're going to, but on game days, he'll put the tie on. He's a traditionalist, right? But I think this is for he's the Austin Matthews of the world, which if the latest trend is knee-high dress pants and a half shirt with a long tie, that's okay. Yeah. And I'm not making fun of Austin Matthews. There are players that I think we crave this individuality of it, but like a half dress shirt like Cam Newton used to wear in the NFL, if that's the latest fashion, I think there's some freedom there too. I don't think it's very specific on purpose, if you know what I mean. Like, who's to judge fashion? If a player thinks that a half shirt with a suit jacket and loafers with no socks and pants that just reach your knees is the latest fashion trend, then that's dressed up, right?
Yeah.
I think there's some freedom there for some individuality, but I think the majority of the league will still wear a suit.
Peter says, he says, hey, Cam, you don't have to wake Jim up for this one. What site do you use for AI? Ooh, I'm not giving away my secrets, Peter. I use a bunch of them. I use certain things for research. I also use certain things to help with writing and preparing stuff. But Peter, I'm not giving away my secrets. Come on.
Peter, also, when he said, I asked AI and we'll get in the contracts, I'm like, Allen Iverson follows hockey contracts.
Dom says, up until 7 or 8 years ago, nobody wanted to go to Florida. It's all about the winning. It helps being tax-free, but that's not the only factor, Dom. Well, he's right about Illinois. Chicago, Illinois is not a high tax place.
The old
LA, the LA Kings lost California, and those. Remember, California dominated.
Yeah.
It was like running the gauntlet going through the Ducks.
They have high taxes.
And the Sharks and stuff. It was like running the gauntlet.
I'll just go back
California.
to the Claude Noel great clip from when the Jets were on their way here, or rumored to be, and I said, do you think it would work here the way it is? And he said, have you ever been to Detroit? Players for 10 years took pay cuts to go there.
We'll be right.
You have to build a winner.
We'll be right back. We'll give away that VIP car wash from good friends at Wash Method. Don't go anywhere.
Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
Hey, and don't forget, we got Blake Wheeler is going to be joining us at 12:30 tomorrow. So we got a great lineup of guests: Morgan Barron, Marty Walsh, and then Blake Wheeler, the trifecta.
Yes.
As I like to refer to it as. Miss your chance to get your thoughts on the show today. Call the Boston Pizza Jets at noon. Hotline open 24/7, 204-780-6800. Coming for lunch every weekday to Boston Pizza. Get a delicious main side and ice cold drink for only $15 only at BP. The number one caller will be awarded a $50 gift certificate to Boston Pizza, and we will do that on Friday. The winning text message that wins our VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, that one goes to Toby. And Toby sent that first text message in. They said best take from Walsh is about the state tax. Absolutely is correct. In those states will obviously pay a different way. Government will find a way to get their revenue. They always have since the start of time. That one from Toby. And that kickstarted a great conversation. So Toby is our VIP winner for the car wash. Congratulations, Toby.
Mike has a great text to the Claude Noel quote. I said, have you ever been to Detroit? There was players for 10 years that would take pay cuts to go there. He says the Jets are a winning team. Actually, the most winningest team over the last 2 years in the regular season. Why are they still struggling to find top 6 players? That's the parity in the league, right? Like Detroit could attract, because back when Detroit was so good, there was maybe 3 or 4 other teams that would push for the cup. Now there's 12 to 14 that can push for the cup.
And we'll wrap it up with Luke's text.
In my opinion.
Text message. He says, we're talking about the dress code now being eliminated. Luke says, but you don't want to see Scheifele show up in jeans, a ripped up T-shirt with Def Leppard pack of smokes on his shoulder.
What's wrong with? Other than the pack of darts, I would like to see that. Now, Mark never would, but I would still like to see that.
I can't promise many things. I can promise this. Mark Scheifele will come to the rink in a suit until his final day in the National Hockey League.
Most likely, yes.
I would be very surprised.
I think 70 to 80% of the league will. Yeah. But that would be cool if one day out of the blue on a Tuesday, you're just like, I'm a big Pyromania fan, Def Leppard.
Hey, who isn't, man? Jim Toth will take you all the way until 2 o'clock. Thank you very much, Jeffrey Fortier, for producing the show. See you next time tomorrow. Blake Wheeler with us tomorrow. See ya.